The Burgess Banquet, the 40th Burgess Banquet, is creeping ever closer. Ever closer. It is the night before the Louisiana Lafayette football game. Still a few weeks, but a big-time event here. We've talked a little bit about it on this show. We've had Kathy Capps on as well. So now we went and got the big man here, the Hall of Famer.
Someone who's in that Hall of
Fame.
Yeah.
R.C. Slocum has joined us here. And, Coach, appreciate the time for coming to visit with us here. I wanted to get your sort of take on this Burgess Banquet. As tickets available if people are interested in coming. This is a star-studded class that's in this year. You've got Danielle Adams from women's basketball, Jessica Beard, track and field, Eric Sane, diving, Jim Hacker, baseball, Antonio Armstrong, a player that played for you, and then Von Miller, of course, member of the Denver Broncos, a couple of Hall of Honor and Lifetime Achievement Award winners as well. As an event that you've been to, I would assume on an annual basis. I don't know how many you've missed. Hadn't been many.
I couldn't tell you how many I've been to, but I've been to a bunch of them over the years, every year, for as long as I can remember. And it's always a fun thing. You know, our history, if you like A&M athletics or like A&M, period, some of the great names in history go to this event every year. I know this year I've talked, guys like Buddy Payne played for Coach Bryant when he was Gail Oliver and Charlie Milstead, and guys that played a long time ago, that were historical figures in A&M athletics, football. And you could do that across the board at all the sports. The legendary basketball players come back and track guys. And so for an A&M fan or anyone that's ever had an interest in A&M athletics, it's a special evening. Just not only the ones that are being honored, but a whole lot of the previous honorees come back each year for that event. And so it's fun to see the new members going into the Hall of Fame. And when you consider this school's been participating in athletics for well over 100 years, to come back and look at the people who have helped contribute to those teams and to be a part of that is really a special thing. And this year with football, with Antonio was a outstanding young man, great player for us. And then I didn't get to coach Von Miller, but I would have loved to have had him on the wrecking crew. I can tell you he would have fit in. We could have found a place for him.
So we could have worked that in.
Yeah, we could have worked that in. He could have run double psycho. He could have run.
It's the old defensive coach here.
That's
getting
right.
excited about
That's
that.
right. Yeah, he'd have been a third Blitz brother in there somewhere with the
Wallace. I don't know,
and
between Roper and Wallace and him, I would have gotten a lot more effort out of those two if I'd have had Von right there. I said, son, you got to pick it up a little bit. We got this young guy named Von Miller here. Yeah. He's right behind you, man. And that's what those kids joke right now. And I talked to Adam Bob and Dana Batiste and the whole bunch. And they said, man, we were afraid if you even got a little nick on the field, you're afraid to come out because you knew the guy right behind you. Mm-hmm. He was just chomping, waiting to get on that field. And you're afraid if he got out there, you may not ever get your job back. Yeah. So that really makes for good teams when you have that kind of competition. We had it at cornerback, defensive line, across the board. So you tried to line those guys up and where they're – and then we took a lot of pride in their performance, and we kept up with the statistical. We wanted to be the number one defense, So all of a sudden you put the young guys in there. I didn't have to say. The old guys are saying, hey, you guys better not go out there and give up a bunch of yards or give up a bunch of points, because we were trying to keep up with where we ranked. And so you had the best motivation where it was coming from within the team. They were pushing each other and holding each other accountable. Mm-hmm. But this banquet, to see guys like Von there, and it'll be fun to see him recognized. And then these young men, their families come back, and you get to see their families again and just hear why A&M was special to them. And it's really touching to see the emotion that they exhibit when they receive this award. To have played at Texas A&M in whatever sport, whether it's track or women's basketball or volleyball, that's a high achievement for an athlete, and it's obvious when you see them accept these awards. It's an emotional time for them, and it's fun as a fan to see the appreciation of the athletes of being recognized by their school.
Mm-hmm. For you, as you've what you've done in your career, no one here has done. Your career you have this tremendous track record. How much did it mean for you to get inducted into this Athletics Hall of Fame? As much time and as much of your life as you dedicated to A&M.
It was so special. You know, first of all, going back to my childhood, I grew up watching A&M. You know, following the Aggies. There was an Aggie in my hometown that befriended me. I'd never been on a college campus, and he brought me up here to the A&M Texas game and the bonfire. When I was in junior high, I'd never been on a college campus. And so A&M was the first college campus that I ever set foot on. And to come back and coach at A&M, and I called this Aggie when Emory Ballard called and hired me. Before I talked to anyone, before I called my parents or anyone, I called the Aggie in my hometown. I said, man, you won't believe where I'm going to coach, man. I said, I just took a job at Texas A&M. And so to play that forward, to have had a career and to be recognized in the Texas A&M Hall of Fame as one of those people that participated and made enough of a contribution to be selected in the Hall of Fame, that's very, very meaning to me.
And do you also kind of swell with pride when you see it's one of your former players going in? I understand it's a little different this year with Antonio because it'll be posthumously. Right. We lost him about a year ago. But is there always a little pride in it when you watch a former player's name go on that list of inductees?
Yeah, sure. That's that's why I go back. I mean, last year Corey Pullick was inducted, right. You know, and it's fun to have seen him sit in his home as a young high school player, talking to his family, trying to recruit him, see him to come in and have success, and then to sit there and say, okay, that little kid that I went in his home years ago is now being inducted into a Hall of Fame of all the football players that's ever played at this university. That's fun. Mm-hmm. That's special. Mm-hmm. Very proud of him. He came back, had his Marine uniform on, and I'm proud of him as a man, what he has accomplished. He's in the Marines as an attorney, and just has had he's a winningest quarterback in A&M history. His record has got the most wins. So anyway, that's fun when you can sit there and enjoy those kinds of things and see his accomplishments and see it being recognized. So that's why I go to the banquet every year. I love seeing that, and some years I have players that are recognized. Some years I don't, but they're still A&M players, which is meaningful to me. In all sports, you know, I love to see, and that evening especially, get to know some of the athletes that maybe I didn't get to know as well when they were playing because I was coaching or I was doing this or that. And some of the girls, like women's softball players or soccer players or whatever, see them get up and hear them talking about their lives and see the video and the whole thing. Really, it's fun to get to know them better.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking about trying to get Vaughn to play with those guys, but from what I've heard about Roper and some of those guys, that you having to tell them that they'd have to sit on the bench, you may not enjoy that part of it all that much, trying to get those guys off the field.
No, yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Roper up. Okay, never mind. Go ahead. You stay out there. You're You're good.
Tough to do.
Not so fast there, John.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting what you talked about, the interaction of sports at an event like this. And I think it was last year, Gary Kubiak was a Lifetime Achievement Award winner,
right.
And he mentioned he was sitting at a table with one of the swimmers that went in. I think it was Julia Wilkinson. Yeah. So he's talking to a swimmer who was being inducted in the Hall of Fame, and she asked Gary Kubiak, a Super Bowl champion, "Now what do you do, sir?" Well, you know, she didn't know what he did.
Yeah, there's always a way that you get your feet back on the ground. You know? I was at one of the local Walmarts recently, and I do some commercials for Caldwell Country, the motor company out in Caldwell. And so I'm in line at the supermarket checking out, and a lady, she's got this puzzled look. She's looking at me, and she said, "I think I recognize you." I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "Yeah, you're that car man, aren't you?" Well, yeah, that probably.
Did you explain? No, you've done a few other things.
I didn't explain. So there's all kind of ways that you keep your feet on the ground. You know?
Andy Richardson, our director here at 12 Man Productions, was telling a story to our students yesterday. So Emmett Smith's daughter, Reagan, is a freshman on the soccer team. He said they gave a tour when she was being recruited here. And, of course, Andy, huge Cowboy fan, is just like stargazing at this. And as they all leave, a few of our younger students are in the building, and he goes, they kind of looking at Andy in there, is that? And Andy goes, yeah. And they go, yeah, okay, I thought that was the guy who won Dancing with the Stars. It's like they didn't even make the
not the NFL's leading
rusher.
Just he won Dancing with the Stars.
Well, Coach, appreciate the time, and looking forward to seeing you at that Burgess Banquet here on the 15th of September.
Good deal. Thank you. Look forward to it.
All right, Darcy Slocum. And again, one final time, Burgess Banquet, 40th Annual, Friday, September the 15th. That is the night before the ULL football game. Danielle Adams, Antonio Armstrong, Jessica Beard, Jim Hacker, Von Miller, Eric Sane in Hall of Honor. Honorees Dr. Tom Adair, Gay and Gail Oliver, and then the Lifetime Achievement Award winner will be David Van Houten. Tickets and information, 12thman.com/Burgess Banquet.